Well, hello there, Tankers of the Blitz universe. I'm Flossie, and today's video will be a little bit different than the previous couple of videos I have made going over Unreal Engine. In the previous videos, I sort of had a opinionated video for each of the different topics. So we went over, obviously, the commanders, we went over the sets, and of course the gameplay. But now that I have played almost 100 battles on the Unreal Engine test, I figured it was time to make a more opinionated video explaining what wargaming needs to change and what things need to happen in order to save this game, because currently there are a lot of very bad things that are going on that need to be updated, and those are what I will be talking about in today's video. Before I do get into that, of course, all of you guys should subscribe to my channel right now if you haven't already. It's a fantastic way to support this content and stay up to date when I post videos almost daily or whenever I make them. Starting off with the sets, and more specifically the currency revolving around the sets. So obviously to unlock sets you need keys. The problem with keys is like you're just adding another extra currency that doesn't need to be there. Whereas currently in Blitz, you can just grind whatever tech tree, whatever tank you feel like getting, you can get it for free in the tech tree. Now, I do know that because there are premium tanks in here, you're going to have to buy some of the tanks in these sets. But you shouldn't have to buy the sets themselves to unlock the ability to then purchase the tanks. The whole idea of what wargaming's trying to do with this update is to make the game simpler. So how is adding keys simpler than not having them there in the first place? Doesn't make any sense to me. Keys need to go. That's number one right there. Number two, the sets overall are just confusing in general. Like, if I'm looking through here and I want to pick, I don't know, a T100 LT, there's no way for me to, without using the search bar and typing in T100 into the set name right here, T100, and I can't even find that there, T100, I have to put a dash. But if I don't do that, which is kind of annoying to be honest, to use the search bar all the time, if I don't do that, how am I supposed to find the T100 LT? There's no real, like, features signifying what has the T100 in it. Like, yes, they have different areas for unique mechanics. They have different sets for, like, higher tier tanks. Okay, that's cool. But, like, if I want to find a T100 LT in my current version of Blitz, all I have to do is go to the tech tree, the Russian tech tree, and go to the far right hand side, and it'll be right in front of me. In this, you're just searching through layers and layers and layers of different sets that you have to then memorize for some reason in order to figure out what is what and what tanks are in what set. It doesn't make any sense to me. Even if you go to the light tank sets, like, there's like 7 light tank sets right here, and as more tanks enter the game, it's going to get worse and worse. So wargaming, if you do want to keep the sets, here's my suggestion for how to make the sets work. Number one, you need to add back the different nations into the sets. So how sets should work, in my personal opinion, is that there are still nations. You have a set for Russian tanks, European tanks, British tanks, so on and so on. That will condense all of the sets into nations. And then if you wanted to wargaming, you could have a set for medium tanks, heavy tanks within those nations to kind of narrow down your search even further. That is the idea, the ideal way to implement sets into this game, because obviously it seems like wargaming, you guys don't want tech trees anymore for some reason, even though the system has worked for 10 plus years and still works in WoTP to this day. So if you are wanting to remove tech trees wargaming, implementing sets with the nations still attached to them to make it easy to search for what tank you want is necessary in order for these things to work. Because right now, yeah, half the things don't make sense. Like, if you're going to classify tanks by their playstyle, at least get the playstyle of the tanks correct. I saw a set where it was like a side scraping set with the VK90 and stuff, and then they threw a tank like the IS-2SH in there, which is one of the worst tier 8 side-scraping tanks in the entire game. Just because it has a rear-turreted feature doesn't make it good at side-scraping Wargaming, and that's the problem with these sets right now, is Wargaming doesn't know their own tanks and how they play, so when they're making these sets, they're just throwing random tanks in there, like this right here, whatever this is, bro. Like, when does the TL7 120 have anything to do with the Type 71 in terms of playstyle? Like, I just don't understand. So that's my main gripe with the sets. They're just too confusing, and they just don't make sense. They need to have, again, something to do with the different nations in order for them to be less confusing. But another thing is, this menu should just be what it was before. Like, this is way too complicated. Why is there a second tab specifically for factions when they could have it just laid out in front of you like it normally should be? Like, I don't know why it's hidden behind this little, like, pull-out menu thing. That doesn't make any sense to me. Again, I think the main problem is Wargaming is putting too many things behind too many random menus. Like, there's just too much stuff. They need to clean up their UI a lot. And that means getting rid of extra tabs that don't need to be there, putting things in more obvious positions in the open. Like, personally for me, I don't need to see what set this is right now. Like, I don't need to see the set for the tanks down below. It'd be nice to see the nations for each tank down below. That would be cool. Again, sets need to just be nationized. So then you have a Russian set, you have a British set, you know what I mean, guys. I'm repeating myself at this point. But it's just really important because this stuff is just basic. Like, it would make the game so much easier to understand, and it would just make it overall a much more enjoyable experience. Next up, we have commanders. Now, to be honest, I don't personally care about the look of the commanders. If they stay the way they are right now, I could care less, bro. I'm gonna be honest. The commanders, they're such a small part of the visual scene of this game. You're only going to see them in this one tab and in the garage, but who cares? Like, I genuinely do not care if they stay the way they are in terms of their visual quality. I know some people want them to look more like tank commanders. Valid enough, I guess. But my main concern with the commanders is their balancing. You can see here the balancing of a commander like Lisa, it's not good, bro. Like, why is the third shot accuracy 75%? If you're using a 183, you're basically getting grill accuracy in your 183 for every third shot. It just doesn't make sense to me. Now, they did a good job, or more or less, of balancing out some of them. Like, Duncan got a better balanced list of changes here. Like, his triple threat is only 12% instead of like the 20% it used to have, and same with rapid fire, and so on and so on. So, like, they're slowly getting there in terms of balancing. It's good that they are listening to the community in terms of some of the changes when it comes to commanders. But overall, the main problem with commanders is if they put them into crates and make them paywall exclusive, pay to win type thing. That will cause so many problems, and it'll basically just make World of Tanks Blitz a different version of War Robots, which everyone hates. I used to play War Robots a lot. Like, I have a ton of hours in that game. And when they started adding paid features like commanders that you could only unlock by paying a crap ton of money for, and they had all the broken abilities on them, that's when I stopped playing the game. And it's the same for many people who also played that game too. You can't have paid commanders that are completely broken, or just in general, they should only be available in events. It doesn't matter how good they are or how bad they are. Even if a commander is still average, but it's in crates, you still then will only be able to get the advantages of that commander if you buy them in crates. So again, bro, why is she T-posing? Anyways, you need to have them only in events. Commanders need to be a free to play option for everyone. That is just straight up a fact, because previously in our current Blitz, all of the crew skills are free. It takes you a super long time to get them, but they, at the end of the day, are all free. So that needs to be something that transfers over into Unreal Engine for the game to stay relevant, because yeah, if you make paid commanders, a lot of people are going to leave, especially your free-to-play players. Next up, we're going to talk about the battle results. Currently, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the battle results in Blitz. I don't know why Wargaming felt the need to change the way these look, where they now are super confusing. It's very difficult to tell what damage you've dealt. It's very difficult to tell what mastery badges or anything you actually have, because they're all in these random looking like shapes at the very top. Wargaming, you need to just keep the battle results screen the same as it is now, where you have your damage front and center, you have your credits below that, maybe off to the side, and then you have one singular line of all the medals that you have earned, not these random, like, one bigger tier for your damage and smaller tier for everything else. It doesn't make any sense to me. All the other screens are okay, like this screen's fine. The other screen, whatever, it's your leveling up stuff. This is all fine. It's just this main screen that is really, really confusing. And again, if you're trying to simplify the game, the current end battle results screen was perfectly fine, guys. Like, perfectly fine. You didn't need to touch it at all. Now, if we make our way to the profile, this is another big change that I and a lot of other players really dislike. Stats are half, if not 75% of the reason that I am playing World of Tanks Blitz currently. I love to see my own account improve in win rate. I love to see my tanks improve in damage. Currently, it's very, very easy to look at your stats and look at the stats of your other teammates so you know why you lost the game. Maybe it's because you had a 45% shitter on your team. It'd be nice to see those sort of things, and although that does bring toxicity into the game, Blitz at the end of the day is a competitive game. If people don't want to be competitive, they can go play a different game without stats. Blitz has always had stats in it. WoTP has always had stats in it. This fundamental thing in the game should not change. Stats need to stay. Right now, I can't even see where my win rate is at all. It's cool to have a rank and all, but they can keep that in the game and still have the stats page show up as the main thing in your account profile. Because right now, like, what is this, bro? You have a tiny, tiny little bronze division, like, medal here, and then all this extra space. You could totally have your win rate there. You could totally have your damage right there. And then making it so it's easier to see what your tank's average damage is would be nice as well. Like, currently, I like the system of having all of your tanks in a row. You can sort them by tiers, and you can see exactly what tanks in your garage have the most battles and what tanks have the most damage, and that's perfectly fine right now. The current system is great. This system right here, very weird and very confusing, and I really just don't see a point to it at all. Like, this is another sort of change that just doesn't need to be a thing. And that's the main problem, is a lot of these changes just don't need to be a thing. Like, again, if Wargaming really wants their game to be simplified, half the features that are in Blitz already make the game pretty simplistic and easy enough to use. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe there are newer players who are like, yes, I don't want to see my stats anymore. Instead, I want to see a random bronze division trophy in the middle of my screen, and then my battle count and stuff hidden away on this separate menu, because yes, that's clearly how this game will be simplified. Yeah, I don't really see the point to that, guys. I genuinely don't. Next up, we're going to go to training rooms, and I'm going to create a room right now. Now, you see, if you are any type of Blitz player and you want to test out a new tank for yourself, I know a lot of people who just go into training rooms to test out their tanks by themselves. But in Unreal Engine, you can no longer do that. Why? I have no idea. You can't start a training room battle without more than one person in the training room. How am I supposed to make a thumbnail for YouTube? How is anyone supposed to test out a new tank that they've bought? And how is anyone supposed to explore the new maps that come into the game without just playing random battles? These things are already in the game, and it would be so simple to just transfer those features over into Unreal Engine. I don't understand why you have to have more than one player in the battle. I don't want someone else on the enemy team when I'm recording a thumbnail. Like, it's such a waste of time to try and get someone from, like, my Discord server or something to join my enemy team just so I can go into a training room that I would have been able to do currently by myself. Doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And finally, I'm not going to touch on this too much because I know Wargaming is going to optimize their game a lot more. I have heard so many times from the devs that this is their main thing they are focusing on, is fixing bugs and optimizing their game properly. But one thing I will notice is the render resolution doesn't really seem to do a whole lot. I'm going to turn it down to 50% and we're going to exit here. It literally looks the exact same as if it was at 100%. What 100% resolution should be doing is it should be removing all of this extra, like, weird almost staticky effect in the background that is currently there. I don't know why that is there, but it almost seems like the slider doesn't work, or that 100% render resolution isn't enough. Like, this should make the whole background, like all the textures in the background, super clear. I'd love to be able to turn my tank right now, but I can't click and turn my vehicle because it's a bug. But anyways, you guys get the idea. I'm sure all of you who have played this game in the open test know what I'm talking about, that the backgrounds just seem super blurry. And also on that topic, there's a lot of maps that don't have PBR in the current game that look better than the Unreal Engine variants. Let's take Normandy, for example. The lighting seems very off on that map, and there aren't many shadows when it comes to the grass, which makes the whole map look super flat and actually looks worse than the current Blitz one. So, in my personal opinion, the PBR maps in Unreal Engine, the ones that were already PBR in current Blitz, look fine. I think those are okay. But the ones that don't have PBR in current Blitz, they just still seem terrible to look at in Unreal Engine. And I think they need some serious reworking in terms of the graphical settings, or at least improve the shadow quality on a lot of those maps. And overall, just make the game look better, which is what the goal of the Unreal Engine update to begin with is to make the game look better than it currently does. So when I see certain maps like Normandy, I'm just going to use that as an example again, when I see those maps look worse than the current Blitz, it kind of just makes me very sad inside. I'm not going to lie, because that is the whole point of the update, is to refresh the game, make it look better than it currently does. But yeah, guys, I know that this isn't all of the problems with the new engine. I just wanted to go through the main big ones that, in my opinion, need to be changed in order for this update to be successful. Obviously, I know that enriching your tank is a bit of an interesting system right now that probably needs to be reworked, because that's just a little bit dumb. And obviously, the camo tab needs some work as well. This is just a complete mess right now. But this is one of the features that has barely been touched at all by Wargaming, so yeah, I'm not really going to comment on this feature either all too much. I just wanted to point out the main things that I think you, Wargaming, if you're watching this, or the players, you guys should leave feedback on these things and test them out for yourselves to make sure that what we are getting as a final product is actually playable and is not going to turn more players away than Wargaming is trying to get to join the game. So, final thoughts on it, of course. Unreal Engine, I don't think it's going to be a complete train wreck when it does get released. Do I think it's going to get released in 5 months' time? No. I think because of how many bugs there are, because of how many things players don't like about this update, I think Wargaming is going to spend at least another year fixing and tweaking all of these different things to hopefully incorporate more of the players' feedback into this update. That would be my hope. I hope they spend more time on this update than just 5 months to really nail down what the community actually wants to see in this update, as that would be the best way to implement this without just reverting all of the changes back to current Blitz. That's my personal take on Unreal Engine. Again, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Make sure, all of you watching this video, make sure you submit your feedback to Wargaming. I know they are releasing a feedback form in a couple days' time, or whenever the end of the test is closing in. They're going to be releasing a form. All of you guys need to input your feedback into that form so Wargaming can get a good idea, not only from videos like this and from like Drool's making videos, but from you guys on what you want to see in this game, and properly give your feedback. Don't just say, this game sucks, I'm quitting, because that's not going to help them in any way. So, with that out of the way, for all of you guys who are not yet subscribed to my channel, I highly recommend you do so, as it's a fantastic way to support content like this and stay up to date when I post videos almost daily. And with that, I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.